Hello people, this is Moffatt from Kharischangeworks. Guys, I hope you are well. The 7 stages of grief. We've gone through all the 7 stages. I've put them down this way today because I want to talk about the bonus element that you get, a different stage development that comes after acceptance over here. So let's just catch up. Shock and disbelief, denial. Then we had guilt and pain that was wrapped up in a inward anger bubble. Then we had negotiation and bargaining. Those two are the same. Then we had an anger that acts as a driver, a motivator. And then we had depression or low mood. Now I mentioned here that these three here we consider a coping mechanism that either lifts you out or sinks you further in to this cycle of grief. However long this takes, whether it be a day, whether it be 10 years, it doesn't matter how long it takes to go through these different stages. Let's pretend it takes 6 months or a year. Let's just pretend. You go through these phases, these stages. What happens to you after the effect? I think what happens after the effect is you get empathy. Now, empathy is a skill set nearly. It might even be an attitude. It's certainly got to do with a choice that is made on a very unconscious level. That because when you experience this thing here, and you go through all these stages here, I believe that there's something that gets built in you that says this isn't nice, it isn't fun, it's not fair, it's a struggle, your emotions are all over the place. One minute you feel okay, the next minute you feel as if your world has caved in, then you feel angry, then you feel confused as you go through these stages here. Why do I say empathy? You've gone through this phase and you come out of acceptance. You come out of it. And you've done the adjusting, you've done the sorting out of clothes and photos, and it's a couple of years down the line, let's pretend. And the next minute someone talks to you about a loss that they've experienced, and they are going through this thing called grief. Because of empathy, this thing that gets built in you during these stages as you progress through it, I believe that there's something that says, I know what that feels like. I know how I struggled. I know how confusing it is. And you'll be able to say, expect this, this might happen, and it all comes down to experience. When you've had that shock and disbelief, you're learning that. When you're in this thing called denial, you're learning that. Guilt and pain, particularly, and this inward anger, you're learning that. When you start negotiating, because of your experience and empathy, you'll be able to advise better in this phase here. When you've got that anger, that motivator, you're learning that. When you're in that depression or low mood phase, guess what? You're learning that. And then when you move out of here, you have some of that. So this is the bonus that you get, where you can empathize. Not sympathize, but empathize. Feeling as if it happened to you. Because guess what? It had. So the empathy nearly becomes an add-on to who you are as a person. And I think that is really important in today's life. There are so many people today that has got zero of this. They might have a lot of anger. They might have a lot of guilt and pain. So many people are in denial, not necessarily to do with grief, but generally speaking. And when you speak to people, they go, oh yeah, I understand what you mean. But they've never gone through this. They've got no idea. Only when you experience that, you learn this. And only once you've experienced this and you start talking to people who've gone through the same thing, that happens. And you'll see the difference. In fact, you'll experience the difference. So there you go. I think empathy is the bonus when you finally get out of this 7 stages of grief, based on, as I said, the experience of going through these phases. Ask anybody who's gone through it. When you start speaking to them about your grief, they will turn around and say maybe words to the effect of, I understand. I know exactly how you feel. Or words to that effect. So there you go. Empathy. Vitally important, particularly in today's society. Because there's people who are passing away because of this COVID on a daily basis. And there are so many people who are in pain. Or in this cycle, in this process with this, because of what's going on in the world as we speak today. So there you go, my friend. I hope this makes any sense to you, and if it does, please let us know in the comments when you do all the other YouTube admin. But for now, this is Mark from Kharischangeworks, and I'll speak to you soon.